How many individual parts do you think it takes to stop a Mini Cooper boot leaking? No, that's not the start of a bad dad joke. It's this week's video. Load up that parts cannon, boys. Ah! So, we have an issue with damp on the back of this Mini Cooper. Now, this light in here, this top brake light, is generally a cause, can be the cause. And as you can see in there, there are little bits of rust up there. Now, I don't know how it gets, maybe it gets down through the spoiler, but I'm going to replace that first because that doesn't work anyway. Then we're going to douse it in water and see if we fixed it. And I'd quite like to get it done because this has had its carpet taken out of it for some time now, and I've actually got the original compressor and stuff to go back in there and tow in eye. I don't want to douse it in water first because then we'll have a wet boot again. So I'm going to replace what I think it is, and it looks like it's pretty easy. These 3 Torx heads up here. Replace that first, then douse it in water, see what we've got. Now, where else could it be? It could be the rubber, although looking at this one I doubt it. Could be the lights, maybe, but again, I kind of doubt that. It looks like it's been coming and congregating and getting through there. Now, it could also be this, I suppose. You can see in there the rubber is pretty perished, so it could also be that. I don't think it's going to be that. So let's take this off first, see where we get to. So this is already far more involved than I thought it would be. You can't simply take it out of there because it's too big for the aperture. So we have to take out these little bungs which hide these little nuts, and that's in there so that the spoiler is now free, although it is bonded in somehow. So I've got to try and pull that away slightly so I can get this bloody light out. So by hook or by crook, I've managed to get the old one out. And wow, it's had some water ingress, hasn't it? It's absolutely knackered, and broke the front of it off. And I've had to sort of start one end, push this up as high as I could, which isn't very high at all, and squeeze it out. I've no doubt the old one, the new one, sorry, will not go back in the way I took this one out, but I have to take this spoiler off somehow. Right, we continue. If you put your foot on the brake, yes, right. Well, at least we've achieved one thing. We have a working third brake light, which is fantastic. That was just doable. All these nuts are back in. Not sure if taking them off had any effect at all, but even if it was a couple of mil, it must have made all the difference. These are back in. It's a squeeze. It's a tight squeeze. This is not a Dadskillz how-to because I wouldn't do it that way again, I don't think. But needs must, and it's in, and it's working. Okay, let's recreate Britain. This will be interesting to say the least. So, we'll go on top because rain obviously doesn't come from underneath. That has had a proper soaking. We went all the way down the back of here. And what is quite interesting, it seems to pond in there a little bit. You can see the water just staying there. But hopefully it's not going in anywhere because that's got a new seal on it. So that's that. We came all the way down here, which hopefully should drain nicely out the bottom. We came round here. We've had a dousing around there. We've had a dousing on top of here. What are our findings? Right, let's dismiss that because that's dripping down from there. But this seal is interesting, isn't it? So all these drains are wet, that's working. It's taking it away down there somewhere. But all in here, all this is sat wet. And the only place it's getting through, or possibly get through, is here. But there's not a right lot you can do about that, because it just is what it is. It has to go down because of that. But where's it getting to there, and how? Is it coming through that drain hole, or is it coming through here? It all looks wet in there. So I think our next port of call may well be a new seal around this piece of chrome, and we can also fix one of these lights is out as well. Let's have a go at changing this seal, which is pretty crusty. The seal up here, which I'll show you in a minute, which is for the rear windscreen wiper. I've put a nice new supple, flexible, rubbery one on there. We're going to change this one, and then we're going to douse it in water again, see what we get. And while we're changing this one, we can just change these lamps. And then, if we're still getting water ingress into the back, there are only 3 more things it can be. And they are either side light seal, or the seal around the whole boot. Oh yeah, look at that. Hardly any seal left. Can you see that? That is absolutely fried. Right, let's see how we get this off. You probably meant to take this off, I think, but we didn't, so that's it really. Okay. So these things, I think this was the one that was working, and this definitely isn't. I'm going to pop those out, tidy these connections up, but I haven't got any of those, so we'll have to get some of those. But that is on. What a seal that is. And it's not like you can screw it up really tight. It only screws up so tight, and so that the seal has to do the rest of it, which I think this one will do. Whereas this one had just shrunk over 20 odd years of use. Okay, the hose is ready, and we have a dry bottom, as it were, to start with, so I won't make the mistake of opening it straight afterwards, because the water just leaked straight in off the boot, straight down into there, so it was difficult to tell, so we'll leave it a couple of hours. It's been an hour maybe. I've been down to JR Car Parts just to pick up a couple of those. Cleaned these out, which is good. So, should we open it? Or should we look in the back first? Can I see anything? Don't think I can see any water in there. Let's have a look. Ooh. We have a dry boot. Fantastic. Right, I'm not going to put this in there or the carpet because... Do we have a dry boot or not? We don't, do we? There's a little bit of water up there. Now, when's that from? I think this side is okay. But this looks like it hasn't got wet. Whereas this down here, there's no water in there. But that is wet. I'm not sure that was wet before. That is tricky to get to, isn't it? Nice. Next, do we have working lights? Oh yes, awesome. With our little water leak there, I thought we'd just wet this with the boot open, see if that was our problem. Alternatively, it's a case of this seal going, but I wonder whether I can just pull this off and turn it slightly so these bits aren't there. Maybe they're like down here somewhere or something where they don't seem to touch. Also, we've got these little bump stop things that I've wound in. Try and get a better seal on it. Right. Try not to get any inside is the thing. Right. We'll wet this. See if anything comes through. Any moisture? There's nothing coming through there, and it's in like a different void anyway, so it's not that. So, but it certainly helps changing that gasket on the handle. I've taken that bit of trim off, and I'm just wondering whether we could move this so the boot pulls in tighter. But we'll give this a little clear up. We've actually, oh look, it's Michelle. Hi Michelle. So I'll give this a clear up, see what happens. I've given it a lovely little clean down there so that I could see where any water was coming in, taken the lock off, and then I started pulling at the seal, and it is just knackered. You can see the water was sat in there, but it's like, I think it's been off before or something. It's like been stuck on. So yeah, that is knackered. So we may have found the cause. It looks like it's been glued together at the end there. So I think I'll rust remedy this stuff, and then we'll get a new gasket, new seal, and put it on.
1 week later.
I've got myself a new second-hand rubber. It was just about the best looking one that I could see on eBay. I don't even know what a new one would cost, but I was gambling it was going to be hundreds or 100 maybe. But this was 30 odd quid. Now, it's fine, I think, mostly. But here where the joint is, it's just starting to go slightly. But I think what I'm going to do is down that hole, I'm going to spray some rust converter, and then we've got some of this stuff which is meant to be, I don't think it was just super glue, it was like, oh there we go, formulated with rubber. Right, so hopefully it will do the trick on that.
The next day.
Put 3 or 4 applications of this stuff on and left it overnight, and I don't usually have a lot of luck with super glue and stuff. But look at that, I reckon, even though it's, you can hear it, I think it's flexible enough to have worked. Moment of truth. This is actually the second time this morning, because I opened it up before and it was still leaking, and I think it was because that bit of trim wasn't in there and water was getting past it. Right, here we go. Oh yes, we have a dry boot. There's not even moisture, let alone a big pool. Fantastic. Yeah, so the first time I tried, see that there? Without this on, it was just low enough for that to creep over. Brilliant. Oh, fantastic. Right, that means we can hoover this out, put this back in, OEM boys, and put the carpet back in. Fantastic. Well, there we go. If you were keeping count, it was 4 individual parts to stop that mini boot leaking, which is fantastic. But it's done and it's sorted, so I'll see you next time. Cheers.